Namaste to everyone. My name is Pranav Anand. I belong to Faculty of Law and Governance, and in this session, we will try to learn something about e-records and e-contract. So, let me begin this by building this introduction for you regarding knowledge economy. So, the third millennium is the age of access and also the age of prohibition of access, where social ordering will be more influenced by accesses to services, experiences, and networks rather than property relations. So, digital revolution has given birth to cyberspace, which have ushered a new economy of knowledge economy. And this knowledge economy has deep roots in the information technology. Information technology has become so familiar in the lives of the people that it has produced far reaching changes in almost every sphere of human activity. So we will try to discuss on e-records, attribution of electronic records, when electronic record will be binding, try to learn something about place of dispatch, receipt of e-records, place of business, try to learn something about online contract, formation and validity of e-contract, contract under Indian Contract Act, parties to e-contract, time and place of formation of e-contract, and then we'll try to learn certain exceptions of all of this. It's a humongous task. We will try to finish it in coming minutes of this session. And if we are not able to finish this in this session, then we will certainly try to finish this into the next session. So electronic record has been defined in section 2(1) clause T of Information Technology Act. And the exact definition of electronic record, I am not I'm not aware about it, but I can give you the glimpse of it. So electronic record means data record or data generated, image or sound stored, received or sent in an electronic form, in microfilm or computer generated microficate. So the examples of electronic records include email message, word processed documents, electronic spreadsheets, digital images and databases. Now, who are the parties to e-records? The parties of e-records are originator, the address, and the intermediary. Who is the originator? Section 2, subsection 1, clause ZA has defined originator. So, originator means a person who sends, generates, stores, or transmits any electronic message or cause any electronic message to be sent, generated, stored, or transmitted to any other person but does not include an intermediary. So, originator can never be an intermediary, or an intermediary can never be an originator. Now comes addressee. Addressee has been explained in section 2, subsection 1, clause B of the Act. Now, addressee is obviously someone who receives the message. Like he is a person who is intended by the originator to receive the electronic record, and it also does not include intermediary. So, an intermediary cannot be an addressee. Now, the question is what what is an intermediary and why addressee is the only person who is intended by the originator? Because suppose if I am originating the message and this message has to be uh, received by certain section of people for whom I'm making this video, then that certain section of people would be termed as addressee. And suppose if this uh, transmission has reached certain other places, those people is also receiving this message, but those person would not be termed as addressee because I have not intended uh, them to receive this message. Now, who is intermediary? This is a very important thing or a very important point in information technology and also in intellectual property rights. What could be the role, methods, and responsibilities of intermediary? So, intermediary is defined under section 2, subsection 1, clause W of the Act. Intermediary means any person who, on or behalf of another person, receives, stores, or transmit that record or provides any service with respect to that record. That includes, it also includes basically telecom service provider, network service provider, internet service provider, web shorting, web hosting service provider, search engines, online payment sites, online auction sites, online marketplace, and cyber cafes. And an amendment has been made in the meaning of intermediary, and this has widened the scope of intermediaries. What could be the characteristics or attributions of electronic records? An electronic record shall be attributed to the originator if it was sent by the originator himself or by a person who acts in the authority of originator, or by an information sent or a system programmed by in the or by an information system works in the capacity of originator or in the authority of originator. So electronic record shall be attributed to the originator if it is was sent by the originator himself or by his agent or automatically sent by an information system program. Now acknowledgement of receipt comes under section 12. So where the originator has not agreed with the addressee that the acknowledgement of receipt of electronic record must be given in a particular form or by a particular method, then the acknowledgement may be given by any communication by the addressee, automated or otherwise, or any conduct of the addressee sufficient to indicate to the originator that the electronic record has been received. However, it is very important to note that whenever e-record is sent by the originator, then acknowledgement must be sent by the addressee to the originator. Where parties have agreed that originator has mentioned the form and manner of acknowledgement, then it must be made in that form and manner, just like it happens in Indian Contract Act. Now, very important part. When electronic record is binding. So when the originator has stipulated that the electronic record shall be binding only on receipt of acknowledgement, that is given under section 12 subsection 2. So let me give you an example. So there is this Mr. A of Jaipur sends e-record to Mr. B of Lucknow, and he has mentioned in the e-record that the e-record shall be binding only on receipt of an acknowledgement of such e-record by him. Therefore, acknowledgement of receipt of e-record must be sent by Mr. B in expressed or implied form. Otherwise, the record shall be deemed to have been never sent by the originator. Now, where the originator has not stipulated that a record shall be binding only on the receipt, this is this can be found under section 12, subsection 3. Now, suppose Mr. A of Jaipur sends electronic record to Mr. B of Lucknow, and he has not mentioned in the A record that A record shall be binding only on receipt of an acknowledgement of such E record by him. However, it was clearly mentioned that the acknowledgement must be received by him within 5 days from the date of making E record. Therefore, acknowledgement of receipt of E record must be received by Mr. A in expressed or implied form within 5 days from date of sending E record. However, where no such acknowledgement is received by Mr. A and he gives notice to Mr. B stating that acknowledgement of e-record has been received by him and specify a reasonable time of 2 days by which the acknowledgement must be received by him. Again, no acknowledgement is received by Mr. A within such time limit mentioned in the notice. Therefore, the e-records shall be deemed to have been never sent by Mr. A, or he remains silent and gives no such notice to Mr. B within reasonable time. It means that Mr. A has waived off his right or option to receive acknowledgement of receipt of e-record from Mr. B. Therefore, e-record shall be binding on Mr. A. Now, time of dispatch of e-record. When e-record leaves computer resources of the originator and it went out of his control to recall or retain and following resources that become time of dispatch of e-record: original email server or intermediary email server or addressee's email server. So in a virtual world, dispatch of e-record is like posting a letter in a real world, which once posted or dropped into letterbox, then it becomes out of the power of sender. Now, time of receipt of e-record. Now, the time of receipt of an e-record shall be determined like this: where the addressee has designated a computer resource for the purpose of receiving electronic record, and the electronic record is received in a designated computer resource, then receipt occurs, and at that time when e-record enters the designated computer resource, or when a computer resource of the addressee that is not the designated computer resource, then receipt occurs at the time when the e-record is retrieved by the addressee, where the address has not designated a computer resource nor specified any time being for receipt of e-record. Then receipt occurs when the electronic record enters the computer resource of the address. Now these are very essential points in determination of e-disputes regard in e e-commerce. Now in the next session, we will try to determine what are online contracts and validity of contracts formed through electronic forms. We will also try to look upon physical contracts a bit. We will try to look upon nature of electronic contracts, e-commerce, parties to e-contract, parties to e-proposal, parties to e-acceptance, how e-contracts are entered, and then we will try to conclude our session by analyzing the overall e-record and e-contract scenario. Till then, thank you.